No23. I am Brian, and other team members are Jong and Eddie. So we are going to go through our solutions to the questions. So I'll first talk about the question 4, identify the classification path from request to content. So what we did is that we extract the name entities for each CCA file, and then we find out the suite topics of them, and we use those topics and named entities as the relevance. So you can see at this sunburned burst figure, we can have different level of paths, and we can see their relevance score as the percentage. And especially for organization, there is a very large portion of the relevance, so we can see that yes, the crawler did find out the most relevance pages.
And I'm Rong. I will explain what we did for the question 5, derive file size diversity by its MIME type. So we first try to query solar index with specific MIME type. Then we calculate the size ratio between the solar response of the metadata we uploaded compared to its original file size. So we also show the size ratio in a bubble chart for each MIME type. Different color means different category, top category. So some interesting examples is like for X-shell. So it's a coding type. We can see the metadata we uploaded to index. Solar index is really small. It's only 3% because there is not much information from such category. And yeah.
Okay, so now we are going to talk about question number 6. So question number 6 is asked about the parser code chains and how much text and the metadata was actually obtained. So we will look at the metadata first. So let's see this figure. Let's see this chart, for example. So the first, let's say that this file only counts for 0.167% of this file, and this is the first parser will be called by default parser. Then it will code the compressor parser next. So let's see the next file for this file, for example. It will first code default parser first, then it will call div parser. So we have several different parser that it has a different hierarchy. So next we will take a look at the text category. So in this file, you will see that the ratio is 0.245%, and the hierarchy of the parser chain, first call will be default parser, and next is compressor parser. So here are some other examples. Let's take this for example. The first parser is default parser. Then the next is office parser. Okay, so now let's talk about question 7. Now we can take a look at question 7. The question 7 is ask about language identification and diversity across the data set. So we will see this pie chart. So let's see that the Italian will count for 52% for the Italian language. And here are some other examples. Let's say that the French counts for 20% in the whole data set, and the unknown language counts for 20% in the whole data set. And now let's go to the next question, which is question 8. For example, the question 8 asks for produce a word cloud D3 visualization in our text metadata and the language to find the maximal occurring topics in our data set. So here is our word cloud data set. You can see that the max occurring word should be. We can take some word for example. So let's take a look at it. We will see that here are word of no is northwest, and here's another is master or Antarctic or something like Antarctic. So all of those words are correlated to the concept of polar. So this is the max occurring of our words, which is our word cloud chart.
So now it's the question number 9. We try to download both Gorbit quantities implemented. So we also uploaded our code for Gorbit quantity implementation in TCAD as a pull request. Then we'll implement this join agreement parser to find which net entity extraction are agreed by all of the net entity models. Then we did some statistics about the type of the net entities which are mostly agreed upon. So in our organization, entities contribute to more than 50% of the net entity that was agreed, which we think is logical because organization names are usually very common and it's persistent, it's language independent most of the time. So that's why maybe it's more stable net entities and can be agreed by different language models. So the problem we see from time and the date is different net entity models that output the time and the date in different format. That's why we cannot just simply do a string comparison to find the maximum joint agreement on it. Then we check which net entity words exist the most of time. So interesting discovery is actually NASA is really popular net entity which agreed by most of the models. Then this Earth Federalization is also a very common word, and Earth, then Alaska. So we can see that a lot of net entities which are agreed, it's really representative and meaningful. So we think it's a really good way to evaluate our net entity extraction.
Okay, so let's look at question 10, which is about the spectrum of the measurements. So what we did is that apart from the measurements found in assignment 2, we also use Gorbit quantity to extract more measurements and integrate them. And what we have here is the spectrum for all the files. So we can see we have a mean and max and the average. And we can see that the measurements are very abundant for length, mass, and time, and some other quantities. And we also have other figures for this figure, it is for a particular type, which is sorry, let me take a look. Oh, we choose temperature as the particular type that we use, and in particular, we show in this figure, we show Kelvin. So, sorry, a domain. This is so this is the type, the measurements. The spectrum of the measurements that we measured for a particular type, which is we chosen as temperature, and we particularly use Kelvin as our unit, and we can see there are abundant units for the Kelvin, from mini to pico to TK. So we have a lot of different units, and also for the third subtask, we did it for the domain .gov, and we can see that in the .gov files we also have a lot of measurements that exists in the files. And for the last subtask, we use the PDF. We extract the measurements for all the PDF files, and we can also see that PDF files did have a lot of different measurements results that we can find. Okay, so this is the last question, the question 10. So we conclude this video recording as that this is a very meaningful evaluation for the overall TCA content type extraction and metadata extraction. We think that we really did a lot for the whole assignment. And thank you very much for watching this video.